Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to our homestead. I'm trying out something new this year. I've never done this before, but we have some bare root fruit trees. We're going to talk about what to do with these after you get them. I just received them in the mail yesterday. We're going to talk about how to care for them and plant them and how they stack up to the fruit trees that we bought from the nursery. Let's get going. So I was recently contacted by a company called Food Forest Nursery, and they wanted to send me some bare root fruit trees. And I had never done that before. I hadn't really investigated it because we have a decent fruit tree nursery close to us. And all of the other fruit tree nurseries that I saw online that did bare root plants usually didn't have that good of a variety. I told the owner I would check it out, and I'm glad I did because the variety that they have was very extensive. And it almost rivals my local fruit tree nursery. And when you contact them, they can help suggest fruit trees and berry bushes and things like that that are more adapted to your growing zones. So if you want to check them out, go click on the link in the description below the video. But bare root fruit trees come with a very specific set of instructions that I have right here, and we're going to go over a few of them. There's a really slight challenge that we're running into with these trees and the instructions off the bat. But I'm going to tell you how to modify these instructions to get through that challenge really easily, and then you shouldn't have any problems at all. Let's talk about what we're doing. So the very first thing that you need to do when receiving your bare root fruit trees is rehydrate the roots. And you can see we've got them in this bucket of water here. You want to do that process from between 1 to 6 hours. But whatever you do, do not exceed 12 hours on the roots soaking in the water, or you will induce rot and then you'll ruin the fruit trees. So after you receive these, you must leave an ample amount of time that you have off to plant them, because you need to plant them and get them out of the packaging within 48 hours. You need to soak them for between 1 to 6. You have to have your holes prepared. So after you get them, if there's no delays in shipping, which is also an issue, then you need to have a few days off to be able to do this. So today is Friday and I received them yesterday. Today, I'm soaking them for a few hours, but I cannot get them in the ground today. I'm sure they may be okay for a few extra days in the packaging, but I want to follow the instructions specifically. And tomorrow is the biblical Sabbath, which we observe. So I won't be doing any work or planting these. It will have to wait till Sunday. So instead of planting these in the ground, what I'm going to do with these is pot them. By potting these, it gives me way more leeway on when I have to plant them. All I have to do is water them in their pots, and they should be good until I can get to planting them. Now let me show you a few other details as I pot them that are in the instructions for these bare root trees. So the very first thing I'm going to do is trim back the roots of this tree. So we're going to use some alcohol and clean off our pruners, get them sterilized, because you don't want a dirty pair of pruners to be touching the roots of the tree especially. And if there are any suckers on your bare root tree, you're also going to take those off. So we're going to trim these off here and then just get rid of some extra long roots. So let's trim those back, and this will give your tree a healthy start. So we are just going to use some regular topsoil. That should be perfectly fine and enough nutrition for these trees to keep it moist, to keep it good until we can get these planted. And then what we're going to do is water this in. Make sure you give it a very good soaking, and then that's all we're going to do until we're ready to plant it. Now the instructions say that it is okay to have some of this root flare that's at the bottom sticking up. So that is not a big deal right there, just having some of them exposed. A big problem with some people planting fruit trees incorrectly is they bury it way too deep. So just make sure you pay attention to that. We also got some berries from this company, and we're going to plant those in some smaller pots, but with the exact same process. So that's all you need to do to overcome that initial slight challenge to bare root fruit trees. Now we will see you in a week or so when we are ready to plant. Now we are ready to plant our trees. They are in the pots, they are doing well. It's been about a week, give or take, and we have time to dig our holes. When we plant a fruit tree, we do it a certain way, and I'll link that video up here at the top of the screen for you to check out. This is a modified version of the original way that we do it, but it's still going to lead to a really healthy tree. the one thing that you don't want to do with a fruit tree is dig a hole too small. You don't want a hole just the size of this bucket. Why? Well, that's because most soils don't have a lot of nutrition in them to start with. You could live in an area where that's possible and you only need to dig a small hole, but for most of us, we are going to need to dig a larger hole and fill it with good material. Some people say to not put a lot of amendments in the holes for your trees to begin with because the roots will get confused. They'll stay within that hole that you dug and not venture out for more nutrition. It does take a little while for those roots to start venturing out. And in the meantime, you do want a decent amount of nutrition in that hole and amendments in that hole to give that tree the best possibility to survive. And we've proven that here on our property. And here, let me prove that to you. I'm gonna show you this tree right here. This is a jujube tree. It is a little bit faster grower, but our other trees are almost as big. This jujube tree was planted about 4.5 years ago, I believe, or maybe 5 years ago. It is 8 inches around at the trunk base, and it is currently 12 feet tall. But that is because I chopped another 12 feet off the top of it. So this tree was about 24 feet tall just this spring, and I had pruned it from the top before. So it would be much larger. And that tree was planted using the Ellen White method, which I tell you about in that other video that I've linked. Let's get back to our new fruit trees. Let me be clear though, with that Ellen White method, you are going to need to modify it a little bit per your growing area. And here's why. Since we have a lot of clay, we can't go as deep as the original method calls for, which is about 3 feet. In our case, in this area, we will only go about 2 feet deep. And then we will backfill the hole with some of the good soil that we did take out of the hole, some peat moss, some topsoil, some rock phosphate, and a little bit of composted leaves that we've taken from one of our compost piles. And if you haven't seen our method for making great fungally dominated compost from just leaves, click on this video at the top of the screen. So if you're interested in getting some of these bare root fruit trees from Food Forest Nursery, and they have a huge selection, then go down in the description below the video and I have a 10% off coupon code for you, and I have a link to their website, so go check that out. I used to mix this up outside of the hole, but that was a little ridiculous, and I just started mixing everything up inside the hole for the last couple years. Just a lot easier. Here's our composted leaves, and you can see contained within here, if you can see that white, hairy kind of stuff, that is good fungal growth. So this is going to make just an amazing soil for this, this new tree. Okay, when we are transplanting our tree to our outdoor hole, you want to do the same thing that we did with the root structure here in this one. You want it to spread out nicely, and you want the top of the crown of the roots to just be above the top of the hole. One thing you can do is lay a board across the top of the hole, or in this case our shovel, to see where those roots are going to hit, because this shovel is balanced on both sides of the top of the ground. So we can see here that we've got a lot of infill to do for these roots. And obviously something that's very important is to have your tree directly straight up and down to the ground. You don't want it leaning at an angle. But also, if you have a graft area on the tree, you want that graft to be facing away from the sun. So in our case, it's a northerly direction. Well, there you go, friends. That is our very first time planting bare root fruit trees. The roots themselves look very healthy. They came in great condition, and I'm excited to see how they grow. And remember, if you can't plant them right away, just pot them, take care of them that way until you can get them in the ground. One last step is to prune your newly planted 1-year-old tree. I'm not going to get into that on this video in particular because that is a whole nother topic. Leave me your comments and questions in the comments section below the video. And now go check out these videos right here, which show our pruning methods for our fruit trees and our grapes. Have a beautiful, blessed day. We'll see you next time. Bye.